You was raised by a pack of narcissists and warlocks. You know, people who mastered image, manipulation, and energetic control. You know, on the surface, these people looked very respectable and they looked like good people. But behind closed doors, it was literally psychological warfare. These people didn't even raise you. They studied you. You was targeted from the beginning. You was conditioned. You was the only empath in your family, and you had a hell of a spirit, sensitivity, and they knew this. They knew this about you. That's why you was always the black sheep of the family, and they tried to destroy you. They knew that you was different because your nervous system couldn't accept this life that you was living. You was always questioning things, asking questions, and they didn't like when you asked questions. So they told you, if you ever tell anything that's going on in this house, in this family, that you were gonna get hurt really bad. And that scared you, and you kept your mouth closed as a kid. They trained everybody in the household to go against you. So you kind of used silence as your survival mechanism, because you knew if you made them look bad that it would be hell to tell. So you kind of became very hyper vigilant, and you was forced into adulthood at an early age. And then, as you got older, you started, the veil lifted. You started seeing things for what they really were. You started paying attention to the patterns, to the gaslighting, the triangulation, them, feeding off of your light, trying to regulate their chaos. They even had favorite kids, and they basically was sacrificing you. You was never taught life skills. You was never guided. So isolation became the chosen one, dependent. Now that you're older, the dynamics has shifted. So now they whisper, and it's flying monkeys, and they watching you, and you don't fuck with them. You don't rock with none of they ass, and they know this, but they still be trying to feed off of you energetically. That's why they always got their eye on you, trying to figure out what you got going on. You realize that you were born into war, and they didn't plan for you to start seeing clearly, wake up. They always wanted to keep you asleep, keep you silenced. They didn't want you to have friends or nothing. That's why they kept everything away from you. They didn't teach you anything because they wanted you to depend on them. But see, the Most High always kept you protected, and you taught yourself everything. And they just cannot accept that you actually outgrew them. The war is still within the family structure, but you are the one that will break generational curses, because you are the chosen one that is here to expose everything. And that's what they scared of.